Good morning. Boker Tov, everybody. See where everyone's coming on from today. So excited to be back on. I don't think I was on last week, and going to get started momentarily. Good morning. Just introduce yourself. Tell us where you are calling from, and then we'll give tzedakah. Boker Tov. Hi, everybody. It's early in the morning. It's hard to get on right away. Okay. Hi. Good morning, Shirley. Okay. Good morning. Good morning, everybody. Just getting the news out that we're ready to start our class. And grab a Tehillim if you have one nearby. Okay, so first thing we do, of course, is we give tzedakah. And especially in the month of Elul, we give extra charity because this is the month that we are preparing for Rosh Hashanah, the day of brachas, the day of judgment, the day of reclaiming ourselves as Hashem's children. It's a very powerful month. Okay, so if you have anybody you want us to say Tehillim for, feel free to put the name down, and we'll say Tehillim. Here we go. Yitzchak, I'm going to say one name, Yitzchak ben Chanaleah. Anybody else want to put down their name? We'll say it together. Amanatzech mizmor leDavid yancha dinar b'yom tzara. Yisagef Hashem Elahei Yaakov. Yishlach Ezracha mikodesh mitzion yisadeka. Yiskar kol mechasecha v'lascha yidash nesela. Yitin lecha chavavecha v'chol atzascha yimale. Nirana b'shuasecha uv'shem Eloheinu nidgol. Yimale Adonai kol mishalasecha. Ata yedati kehoshi Adonai mishicho. Yanei mishmei kocher b'gvuras yesha yamino. Ela v'recha ve'ela v'susa v'nachnu b'shem Adonai. Eloheinu naskir. Hema karvena follow v'nachnu kamenu v'nisadad. Adonai Hoshia HaMelech Haneinu v'yom kareinu. And so the question I posed today was, do you know, okay, now this is for all age parents, so because I gave this part of this lecture on Shabbos to the women in my shul. I had a bunch of young moms in shul this week, and there were a few grandmothers in the audience, and one of them came over to me and said, this resonated with me, and I said, wow, but your kid's already married. She goes, no, we are a mother until our last breath. And sure enough, that woman's mother had died at 104. And she had a very, very close relationship with her mother. And so she understands what the conversation that we're going to have today is. So the question I asked was, do you know that your child or your children, do your children know? Okay, let's just change around. Do your children know that you love them? Okay, so just give me an emoji or a comment. Do your children know implicitly, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that you love them? And just think about this question. You put them to sleep, you give them breakfast, you make their lunch, but that's not love. That's taking care of our children. Does your child know that you love them, and how do they know? So this is the question that's been pondering parents throughout our ages. We love our children. Every mother naturally loves her child, but do the children know that? It's an interesting question. Do our children know that? And I'm just going to share with you a true anecdote about this dad who was a farmer here in Canada, and he had two sons. He had a son whose name was Butch, and Butch was 16, and he had a younger son. His name was Adam. Adam was 9. And this dad was at a lecture trying to tap into the love relationship between him and his children. And the speaker, who happened to be the author of the 5 Love Languages of Children, Dr. Gary Chapman, and he was sharing the dilemma that many family dynamics have. I have a child. I do everything for my child. I'm up sometimes to 1 o'clock in the morning worrying about my child. Does my child know? And if I ask my child, do you know that I love you? Unconditional love. That's the big phrase here. Unconditional love. Will your child emphatically say yes? Or they'll say, yeah, I know my mom loves me, but she loves me when I clean my room. Or, oh, sure, I know my dad loves me because I come home with great marks on my report card. That's conditional love. That's not true love. Does your child, if you woke them up at any hour of the night and you say, do mom and dad love you, will they say a resounding yes? And if anybody wants to share their thoughts right now before we continue, you could put it on the emoji, you could put it on the comments. I need to know how the audience, okay, how you guys are responding to this question. Some of you have one child, 2, 3, 4. Some of you might have 8 or 10 children. How do you know they all love you? It's $1 million question. Does anybody want to respond? I see Rosalie said yes. Does anybody else feel the same way as Rosalie? Yes, yes, yes. My children know 1,000,000% that I love them. So this father said, yes, of course my child knows. So this doctor challenged him, and the doctor said to him, hey, good morning, Francis. The doctor said, okay, I want you to go home. I want you to ask your children. His son Butch is 16. His son Adam is 9. Go ask your 2 children if they know that you love them unconditionally. So Mr. Farmer goes home and he first sees Adam. Adam's playing in the playground. He says, hey, Adam, come here, sweetie. Gives him a hug. He goes, Adam, do you know that I love you? And Adam goes, of course, Dad. He goes, how do you know? He says, because you and I hug each other. We wrestle. We box. We play all kinds of fun physical games. And you let me jump on your back and I jump on your shoulders. Dad goes, wow, you're right. We do that. We do that a lot. And you know that I love you. And Dad's feeling really, really comfortable right now. Goes over to his son Butch, who's in the field. He says, hey, Butch, come here for a second. And Butch comes over, goes, hi, Dad. Gives him a high five. He goes, Dad, how you doing? Farmer says, Butch, I have a question to ask you. Good morning, Naomi. Good morning, Elise. Dad, Farmer says to his son Butch, hey, Butch, do you know that I love you? There's silence. Silence. Deafening silence. Farmer Dad is feeling very uncomfortable. He goes, Butch, you don't know that I love you? With my whole heart, I love you. How could you not know that? He says, Dad, I've been thinking a lot about this lately. And I was thinking, does my dad love me? But I'm not so sure. He goes, what do you mean? What do you mean? I'll give my life for you. If someone comes to shoot me, I throw myself at them just to save your life. He goes, yeah, I know, Dad, you do that. I know that you do that. So he goes, so how do you not know that I love you? He says, hi, good morning, Helga. Good morning, Esther. He says, because the other day and the week before that, I was down at the bottom of the farm and the axle of the wheel that I was using broke. And I said to Adam, go get Dad. And Adam runs up to get you, and you sent back a message. You said, it's okay, Butch is big. He could do it himself. And I sat down on the turf, and I said to myself, my dad doesn't really love me. Takes care of me, takes care of my food, my shelter, my schooling. He doesn't really love me. And the farmer begins to shed tears. He goes, oh, my son Butch. He grabs him. He goes, how could you say that I don't love you? He says, Dad, whenever I need your help down in the farm, you never come to help me. And that shows me that you don't really love me. And suddenly, there was this lightning bolt that came onto Dad, the farmer, and he says, I get it now. Dr. Chapman was right. You see, my friends, we learn from King Solomon a beautiful pasuk. I'll say it in Hebrew, and if you know it in English, please put it down in the comments. Chanoch lena'ar al pi dako, gam kiyaskin lo asur mimenu. What are the wisest of all humans that ever faced this earth, that ever graced Chanoch lena'ar al pi dako? Anybody know what that means? Statements, and King Solomon, but he said this book, and actually my school, Torah Tots, this is the theory that I run the school with, the Howard Gardner's multiple intelligences. It's based on King Solomon's theory. Chanoch lena'ar pi darko means raise your child, teach your child according to his way. What does that mean to you, moms? What does it mean to raise your child according to his way? And I really would love comments to come flowing, because I want this today to be a real give and take forum. Okay, what does it mean? Raise your child according to his way. What does that really mean? According to his way. Obviously, like according to whose way? Your neighbor's way? What does it mean? Raise your child according to his way. So while everyone's thinking, I'm going to translate to you what it means. And the Lubavitcher Rebbe really spoke about this a lot when he spoke to children and spoke to parents about education. We, as parents, as educators, must know that no two children are alike. Your children aren't alike, even though they both come from you and your husband. And our students come from many different backgrounds and have many different genetic influences. There are no children alike, which means that we cannot raise our children the same, cannot teach our children the same. So what Butch was getting from his dad had to be very different than the kind of love that Adam was getting. So today I want to introduce you to the 5 love languages of children. Now, for many of you who've come to my classes, have heard my shiurim, we've done a lot on the 5 languages of marriage. But today, I want to introduce the 5 love languages of children based on Torah and tradition. You see, when we look at our children, and for that matter, for those of you who are grandchildren, I want you to think of this as the role of a parent. You look at a child and you think to yourself, why aren't they responding like their sibling? I give them so many gifts. Why are they not responding? Why are they sad or depressed or, removed, unhappy, acting out? What is it? And that's because there are 5 love tanks that each child has. And what I give to the parents in my school, and what I give to the parents who come to my classes and show, is a handout. It's called the 5 Love Language Mystery Game. And maybe after we finish this class, and it's going to take a few weeks to finish this class, you can email me and I will email you back, or you could put your email on the chat. I will email you the tests that you can give to your child. It is literally mind-blowing how much you can understand your child based on these 5 love languages. The first love language we're going to talk about today is the love language of physical touch. So there are 5, and if you know them, please feel free to put them in the chat. Physical touch, quality time, words of affirmation, gift giving, and acts of service. And we will discover Butch and Adam's love languages and why Adam felt very loved and why Butch felt disconnected from his dad. So it's not rocket science, but it's something that Shlomo HaMelech taught us, which really, if you listen to this conversation and you give it over or you share it with your friends who you feel need this because they're parenting, because they're grandparenting, It really, really changes dynamics in your home. I promise you, it really changes things. So what does it mean, physical touch? And how does Torah address this language? So Adam, this little boy Adam, his love language was touch. So he said to his dad, of course I know that you love me. We always wrestle. We we hug. We jump on each other, right? He's getting what? He's getting the physical input that he needs every single day. So for a child that his language is physical touch, he needs hugs, kisses, caresses. He needs you to soothe or hold his hands. He needs you to massage his shoulders, to massage his back. He needs lots of kisses. He needs taps on the back, taps on the head. Whatever physical attention you can give, you are filling up their love tank. And we spoke about filling up the tank. We said everybody has a tank in their car, and your car cannot run on empty. And so it's common sense that you fill up your tank at least every week, sometimes even more. If that's your child's love language and they don't get those physical needs met, what happens? Anybody? Okay, so Naomi says, hugging and kissing a child and holding them close to you. Exactly. If they don't get this, Naomi, what happens? Their gas tank is empty and they can't go. They maybe get up in the morning and go to school and do breakfast, but they are depleted. You could see it on their face. You could see it in their body language. They're unhappy. Something's bothering them. And they might not even know what it is. Or they do know when they're shy to say to you, hug me more, Mom. Kiss me more, Dad. I need it. They feel so alone. They feel so deserted. Yes, they could also feel very alienated. So think about, what is Judaism? Our brilliant Torah. What does the Torah give us to make sure our children get this physical need met? Think about it. We walk to shul with our children. We hug their hand, hold their hands, we hold their shoulders. We pinch their cheeks. We're walking to shul. So we have a 20-minute walk to shul. What are we going to do? We'll talk, we'll sing, and we'll do physical touch. Think about the custom of going under the daddy's talus during duchening, when the Kohen blesses. You're under the talus. Sitting with your children in shul. Sitting with your children in shul. What are you doing? Holding their hands. Putting your hands around their shoulder. Adult kids need it absolutely, Naomi. We put their hands, good morning, Becky. We put their hands around their shoulders. Becky, you're a mom, Baruch Hashem, of a few children. And I'm sure your children know the language of physical touch. Holding them, sitting in shul, let them sit on your lap. Give them that physical touch. What about Friday night singing Shalom Aleichem? We have a custom that we stand around the table holding our children while we sing Shalom Aleichem and Eshes Chayil. How about when Mommy benches licht and afterwards we hug each other and hold each other in a tight embrace? When parents bless their children Friday night, what happens then? They put their hands on their child's shoulders, on their child's foreheads, embracing, holding, touching. So physical touch is so important. And if your child needs to wrestle on the floor, your child needs to snuggle up in bed. My friend, well, actually my sister, she tells me that her 12-year-old still wants her to snuggle up when she puts him to bed. And she says to me, I will not stop until he tells me, Mom, I'm old enough. We cannot stop until our child gently says, oh, you know what? I think I can go to sleep alone now. Even teenagers, and this is a very huge wake-up call for teenagers and older. They need hugs. They won't ask for it. And this is the key that many psychologists will tell us. Hug your teenager and your older child until they have had enough. Don't give a quick hug and move away because you think, they're old, they don't really need my hug. Keep hugging them until they move away. They need to fill their tank, and your hug can do that. You know, I'm going to share an insight with you, and you might agree or disagree with me. So children get their love tanks filled a lot with the physical. They get a lot of kisses and hugs and all this stuff when they're little. Then when they get older, become tweens and teens, it's not cool to hug my mom, we think. So they sort of need touch. Every human being needs physical. So what happens? We have many teenagers that go off and find someone from the opposite sex so that they can connect and get their physical needs met. So they suddenly are finding themselves in bed when they're 15 years old, when really all they need is that physical connection. And we could save so much inappropriate intimacy and inappropriate relationships if you fill up their love tanks at home. Okay? Just a little insight in there. So that physical connection is so crucial. And loving our adult children, boy, adult children live such stressful lives. They're responsible for their children, for their mortgages, for their jobs, for their spouses. You don't think they need extra physical touch? Phew. I'm getting emotional now because I have my children and my grandchildren, and I know how important it is for me to do even more. And that's why I love classes, because it reminds me of all the things that we need to do. Let's discuss. Now, by the way, if any of you feel that you have a child who this is their love language, just give me a thumbs up. I'll see if this resonates with you. Okay, then we have the second language. Today I'll discuss the language of words of affirmation. How many of you listening experience really good vibes and good energy when you get words of affirmation? When you get compliments, appreciation, gratitude, compliments, okay? Words of affirmation is a very, very, very strong and deep language that we have to be very, very cognizant of what means appropriate words of affirmation. So just saying things like, oh, you're the smartest in your class, Joey, or Mendel, I know you're the strongest kid in the playground. That's absolutely not going to cut it for a few reasons. At age 3 and up, they are very aware that they are not the smartest and the strongest and the most beautiful. Okay? What you could say is, in my eyes, you are the most beautiful. Make it personal. If you study a lot of child psychology, you'll know that children are very aware of their strengths and their weaknesses. And when a parent says to them, you are the most beautiful in the whole school, they will block you out so fast because they will know that they are not. And how do they know that? Well, either their friend said something to them, their teacher said something to them, someone on the playground. And so they already know. They might be cute, but they know they're not the most beautiful, and they're okay with that. But if you sort of hark on them that this is your great reality, you are the smartest, you are the strongest, you're the most beautiful, they're going to block out your compliments, because that is not true. That is overpraise and not reality. So when you're giving words of affirmation, be real. Be real, be truthful, and be on the mark. So say things that are very specific to your child. I love how you took care of your sibling. You are such a kind child, right? You're not saying you're the kindest. You're focusing and hammering on their kindness because you are you just took care of your sibling, right? So you're giving clear descriptions. Okay. I love how you made your brother feel comfortable in the parking lot. Or I love how you shared your snack. You're such a kind, sharing sibling. So being specific, right? You're just a good girl, but I love how you shared with Rifki. So that, I saw you clear off the table. That's so kind of you. That's so generous of you. I see how you gave a part of your snack to Joey. Being specific and recognizing when you could compliment, because I feel like children get enough criticism. Put your shoes here, you didn't do your homework, come clean your teeth, brush your teeth. Did you do that? Why didn't you do that? Why? You know, Sarhana Radcliffe, very, very popular child psychologist, talks a lot about the 80-20 rule. If there's 20% of criticism, right, telling them what to do or critique or commands, then fill up their tank with at least 80 compliments, 80% of compliments. So throughout the day, if you're about to say something that's negative or critique, close your mouth. Maybe your child got enough of that today. Maybe they got enough of that today at school. And maybe you have to fill the love tank with words of affirmation. And the Torah is full of positive words, right? Even the language that we use at home, you know that the Rebbe never, ever, ever used negative language. So even if he had to say things like a pig, right? Which the Torah talks about a chazer. The Rebbe would never say that word. The Rebbe would say animals that are lo tahar, animals that are not kosher. The Rebbe wouldn't say treif. When the Rebbe had to use the concept of a deadline, right? Because people would come to him and say, I have to finish transcribing the Talmud, or I have to finish building my school, or I'm building the mikveh. But which reminds me, by the way, we're having our challah bake this Thursday night, 7:30 at the shul, together with Yachad, a special needs organization. And at 8:15, we're going in for our mikveh reopening. So if you're here in Toronto, please definitely join us. So people would come out to the Rebbe and say, I have a deadline, it's in a month, and Rebbe would clarify, and Rebbe would say, due date. See the difference between due date and deadline? Anybody see the difference? Due date and deadline. What's the difference? They both seem to mean the same thing. But you'll think about this next time we talk. Due date is all positive. Deadline has the word dead. So interesting. So interesting that the Rebbe focused on beautiful talk, holy talk, careful talk. We're starting Tamim. We started Tamim Academy here in Toronto. And on one of our evenings for parents, so my husband shared something about what the Rebbe said, that many parents are scared to be the first ones to start a school. Like, I don't want to be the guinea pig. And a little girl once told that to the Rebbe. She didn't want to start the first Beis Rivka High School. She goes, I don't want to be the guinea pig. And the Rebbe turned it around, and the Rebbe used the word pioneer. You're not a guinea pig. You're a pioneer. See the difference? Both might mean the same thing. You're the first one starting a new school, a new project, right? But the Rebbe just turned it over the head. This little girl actually joined that school, and today she's a principal of the school, Mor Tachtel. For those of you who are Beis Rivka, New York, you'll know. So being careful with our speech and our children growing up in an environment where we use holy words, besides for having very positive energy in your environment, in your home, it's actually raising your child's esteem. Because raising children in a home that is full of positive, holy energy changes the dynamics. There's no question in that. But I see already it's 10:15, so I want to conclude with a story, just with words of affirmation. It is one of my favorite stories I heard a long time ago, and I just can't seem to forget it. So there was a young man who went to fight in the battle, in the war in Vietnam. And unfortunately, he was killed while on duty. His body was sent back to his parents who lived in the United States, and they made a big a big country funeral. The father, when he got the clothing back from his son, the clothing that he was wearing, and he was shot, he went through the pockets and he saw a paper. And he looked at the paper, and this paper was a very, very, very special paper that was very old. And he had tears in his eyes when he saw this paper. And he decided he was going to call all his son's elementary school friends from grade 3 and the teacher that was in grade 3. The teacher happened to be a nun. And he got hold of her. She was an old lady. But he begged the police to come to this funeral. And of course, when a soldier dies while protecting their country, they get a very special funeral, and it's an honor. So all the friends showed up and the teacher. After the service was over, he called the students, who were now all young adults. Some of them were middle age. Well, they were all the same age, actually. And he invited them all to their home with the teacher. And he pulls out the paper, the crumpled paper. And he picks up the paper and he says to the friends, "Does anybody here recognize this paper?" They all gasped. They said, "Yes, we also have that paper. We know that paper is." And then teacher, tears in her eyes, she goes, "I know that paper. I gave your son that paper." What was the paper? When this fellow from Minnesota, actually, when his son left to the war, he had taken this paper and had put it in his pocket. What was this paper? Well, all of these boys were in grade 3 with this teacher. And this teacher had a beautiful custom that she did every year. She would write down all the kids' names on the wall. And she would tell everybody to write down, she would write down everyone's names, and then she would tell everyone on a piece of paper to write down that child's name and something special about that child. So, Joey, what do you feel about Joey? And they would write down, one kid write, "Joey's fun. Joey's my friend. Joey is so smart. Joey shares his snack. Joey is cool. Joey has the best handwriting." Then she would take everyone's papers and she would put it together in one paper per child. So Joey got everybody's compliments, and David got everybody's compliments, and Linda got everybody's compliments. And then Linda took the paper home, and she had 20 children's words of affirmation. And everyone went home and showed it to their parents. But this guy, this soldier, he took it the next level. He put that paper in his pocket of his uniform and took it to battle. Is that not incredible? Is that not incredible? What words of affirmation can do, that an adult will take it to battle? We're living in a world where we are very interesting with our words. To critique, we're very fast. But to compliment, are we fast enough? Do we compliment enough? We have to learn from the Rebbe. Give words of affirmation whenever, wherever, to whoever. I have this funny thing about complimenting strangers. My husband goes crazy. He doesn't like it. So, 2 scenarios. We were walking down the street once in Crown Heights. There was a very old couple walking. I would say they looked like they were in the high 90s. She was wearing a red jacket, a red skirt, red shoes, a red necklace, and a red purse. And they were walking towards us. He was holding her like on the elbow, clearly an elderly couple. And they were striking to me. First of all, I love when couples show love to each other. And I look at this woman and I go to her, "You look absolutely gorgeous today." And she stopped. And her and her husband looked at me. And I was continuing to walk. Her husband looks at me. He goes, "Thank you." And the wife looked at me. She goes, "That is the kindest thing anyone said to me today." They continued walking. And my husband looks at me. He goes, "That was unbelievable. Like, I would have never stopped the stranger and told him that. But look how your words made such an impression." This happens every day because I do this all the time. And my husband laughs at me because he doesn't know why I'm complimenting strangers. But I know that words of affirmation are real. And if you don't get it, but you get it from someone in the street, who cares? Your laugh tank was just filled up. The other one happened 3 days ago in Sobeys. Excuse me. I was in Sobeys, and the cashier that was handling my order was a Chinese woman, an Asian woman, and she had the most adorable haircut, very short, full in the front, but very, very, very like cut tightly to the skin almost. She was my age, maybe in her 50s. And as she was adding me up, she looked a little like grouchy. I mean, I don't expect cashiers to be singing, but she looked like more despondent than others do. So I said to her, your haircut is really cool. It's just gorgeous and it suits your face. And she looks up with a big smile and she goes, I can't believe you said that. I am feeling so ugly right now. I went to get my hair yesterday. This is totally not what I asked. I am so embarrassed. I wanted to wear a hat. You really like it? And I said, I like it. I love it. I think it really frames your face. And there was a lady behind me and she goes, that is so true. You look gorgeous. And suddenly this woman's shoulders got up, straightened out. She had a smile. She worked so much more efficiently. And I realized, what does it take? What does it cost to compliment someone? I'll leave that with you. Have a great day.